the belief that a woman is less than a man.
Preach. Yes.
And I will never pass that down. That is not the ideology of my family. It's not the ideology that I believe in. And I will never pass that on to my daughter or to a friend or to anyone. I think that the biggest percentage of me is طبعا Egypt. I've lived here my whole life. And I love this culture. And I've learned with time not to fight it, you know, and because if you fight it all the time, then you're going to allow the negativity or the suppression and, you know, all that stuff. So if you don't look at the negative side and you actually look at the positive side of all the culture and all the tradition of Egypt, it's a lot more welcoming, you know, and you accept it more and you love it more. But definitely the biggest portion, of course, I dedicate to my beloved country, Egypt. I was born in the States. My parents lived in the States for many, many years, and I went to study in the States after I graduated from college. So I'd have to say that there's a little percentage as well dedicated to the States that I consider as part of my culture, Mocktail, because I can definitely relate to it a lot. I used to go to the States every single summer and winter for either summer vacation or Christmas break or كده. I always kind of had one step here, yani one foot here, one foot there, you know?
Yeah.
And it's really how you perceive it, because you can either see this as a blessing or as an identity crisis, you know?
I feel like both at the same time, for sure.
But so with time, I've realized that it is a blessing because it's just opened up my network to so many more people. And with each person comes a new thought. And with each thought comes a new ideology and a new perspective about things and new friends at the end of the day. So, I mean, yeah, I have to say that New York City has a big place in my heart. Come on. So those are like factual, you know, things about my, things I put in my mocktail.
Yeah. That makes sense. So I feel like you're right. Like I feel like the different ideologies really end up just meshing into like becoming youth in it.
Of course. You take what you want from wherever you go. You know?
Yeah. But at one point, did you feel like you did have that identity crisis?
I did when I was young, but I don't think it was an identity crisis because of where I grew up versus, you know, Western culture. I think it was because anyone has an identity crisis at 21.
Naturally.
It's a normal thing, you know. But then with time you grow up and you kind of solidify your values and your ethics, and you accept tradition and you respect tradition, and then you kind of take what you want from all the different cultures around you. And you don't need to travel somewhere to be affected by a culture. But if you have a friend that's from a completely different culture, like I had a friend of mine who was from India. But she was completely something else. It's something that it's not even a culture that is known or like common. You know, if you haven't been to India, if you haven't really lived in the culture, then how are you going to know it? But just her existence and all what she stands for and all the traditions that she grew up with and came to explain to me and I understood also opened up doors, you know. So you don't need to physically travel and like stay there or have lived in a country to be affected. But I think you should just be open towards, you know, taking different traditions and different cultural beliefs and kind of meshing and making your own.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like definitely like when you meet like more people from different countries, you realize how different we are, but you also realize how similar we all are at the same time. But there's so much beauty in that.
Yeah. I used to sit in New York with some girlfriends, and we used to talk about, you know, problems like growing up or whatever, and he'd be like, على فكرة, we're all the same.
We're literally just humans.
We're all
like
the
hearts
same.
and organs and like the same things going on.
Of course.
So
Exactly.
So we're gonna play a little game. So this is like the culture mota game. You pick a question. It's pretty much the same thing, but we're just calling it a game.
Okay.
So you pick out a question from the question card, and we'll see what you got randomly.
All right. 3 colors of cards: yellow, pink, blue. I pick pink. All right. What's this question? What's one cultural tradition that you hope to pass down, and what is another that you definitely will not? Okay, the one cultural tradition that I would love to pass down to my children and my children's children, and I will always make it a point to to keep this tradition alive is Ramadan.
Yes.
And getting together for Fطار on the first day of Ramadan with all my family, and then going to pray Taraweeh in Ramadan, and to make it a point to give to the poor, and to just be aware, like spiritually aware. يعني كلنا, I mean, it's best, of course, if you try to implement all these traditions not through 1 month only of the year. You should technically have it all the time. Exactly. But specifically Ramadan, the fun stuff about it, like getting together with family and كده, and the spiritual part about it as well, are two things that I value very, very much, and I want to always keep that going.
I love that.
One tradition that I definitely will not pass down. I think that the one tradition that was not in my family and was not passed down to me, but I've seen it in other families in my culture, is the belief that a woman is less than a man.
Preach. Yes.
And I will never pass that down. That is not the ideology of my family. It's not the ideology that I believe in, and I will never pass that on to my daughter or to a friend or to anyone.